Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Drew Deeks channel. This is a first, so if you're not recognizing the formula here, yes, NFL folks, a new format for today. Talking some Green Bay Packers, San Francisco 49ers. We got a divisional matchup this Saturday night, gentlemen. I've got producer James, you may recognize him from Habs Tonight, and then my good friend, Nigel Kors at the bottom. Such a pleasure to have you, Nigel.
Great to be here.
All right, boys. So let's get right into this. I've been a Packers fan for a long time. I'm repping, and I have been because I got the Antonio Freeman jersey on today. So no messing around here. Definitely a long time fan. But the first question we're going to just pose right off the top here, guys. We know that it's all about the quarterbacks, right? I mean, they get the most attention, they get the most love. But we'll talk about this first. Aaron Rodgers' legacy with the Green Bay Packers and whether he's going to cement, to me, his legacy as the greatest QB of all time for the Green Bay Packers. And it all starts in this matchup against the 49ers.
Wow, that's right off the bat. The hyperbole is out of control, Drew Deeks. So the one game, it's a divisional round game. I don't think he cements his legacy in this. In fact, the only thing I think he can do is damage it by not winning, because this will be the fourth time if he loses, which is, I give him a great shot in this game. Admittedly, as a 49ers fan, despite recency bias and history against the Packers, this game would be the fourth time if he were to lose to the same playoff opponent in his career. That would be the record. There would be nothing else here at stake. He would have to win the Super Bowl this year, in my opinion, as a 49ers fan. And I love Aaron Rodgers as a player. I'm not sure I like the person, but he needs to win this game and then go and win a Super Bowl to cement his legacy as the greatest, 100%. And even then, he's not. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. Then Joe Montana. So maybe him at number 3 with Dan Marino or John Elway. We're getting into that territory. So let's just set the stakes adequately and appropriately here first before we get too excited about what's really going to potentially happen. But Nigel, I'm sure you've got thoughts.
I actually agree, and I'm a Green Bay fan, but I can't argue with you there, JB. It's one of those things that I think he's got more to lose than to win in this game. If we were talking about, closer to the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl itself, which I do agree that this is a year that they've got a lot of weapons. They're healthy going into this week, or healthier, let's say, with some key guys. Yeah, I'd have to say that they're the favorite based on the performance this year. And if he doesn't deliver, we know that sometimes Aaron Rodgers has a tendency in big games to not exactly live up to his ability, and that drives me crazy as a Packers fan. I agree with you on that.
And what I was meant to say off the top was that this is hopefully the beginning of the opportunity for him to cement his legacy. Obviously, this is round 1 of the playoffs, but the running game for the Packers
round
has
2. You guys don't forget, you guys had a week off.
Yes,
you got to kick your feet up and relax, and have a couple cold baths and get ready for this game. We just came off a game 4 or 5 nights ago, so we're that'll be. I'm not making excuses, by the way. I'm just saying you guys had rest.
Well, okay, let's jump into the 49ers then. So a Jimmy Garoppollo led lineup. This guy's running on a little bit of magic right now. You have to cheer for a guy like him, right? I mean, against the Cowboys, you saw the way that game ended, which was freaking bananas. Just to see Dak Prescott not get a chance to snap that ball and to make another play to try to tie the game up. That was just off the charts in terms of just typical NFL. Like, there's always some sort of, I don't know that controversy is the right word, but there's always some sort of drama, right? So what do you make though of where Jimmy G is at, and his and the team's chances against the Pack?
Yeah, I'll talk about Jimmy in a sec, but let's not forget what happened last week was what happened to you guys over time and time again with Mike McCarthy and his terrible decision-making and clock management. So you guys lived through that. You must be having like Vietnam flashbacks watching last week's game, going like McCarthy just hitting himself in the head over and over again with his play sheet as he got, pre-snap penalty after pre-snap penalty. So, Aaron Rodgers ran him out of town, rightfully so. He wasn't a very good coach. He is who we coached. It was the coach against us the last few times in the playoffs. So we're actually up against Matt LaFleur. What this leads me to is Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan. The two work together symbiotically. They've been working together on building a playbook over the last 3 seasons. And what this means is that what I see Jimmy G able to do that, unlike a lot of opponents are going to be able to do, is run a deep series of plays throughout the entire 4 quarters, multiple situations. You saw this in the Rams game when they were down 17 points. there are different situational playbooks at play here, and this is what's going to challenge Aaron Rodgers, the defense, and the coaching staff of the Packers more than anything is his ability to run a deep playbook. Now, what you are going to get from Jimmy G is what every team gets almost every week, which is one bonehead turnover, usually an interception in the red zone, or some sort of lapse of overthrowing a player. He does it every game. What you hope to see as a 49ers fan is it happens early, not at a critical stage, and not what we had last week with the Cowboys, which was at a very almost to the worst possible computational point in history of the game. He threw the interception in the fourth quarter to give him a chance to score 2 times. So that's what you got to expect of Jimmy G. High highs, low lows, but the ability to run a very deep playbook with a very savvy coach.
That in mind, when you mentioned the pass rush, we were talking about this, I think, earlier this afternoon, and in terms of how they're going to try to defend Aaron Rodgers. So what kind of system or what kind of plays or attack plan do you think that they're going to have to try to stop AR here?
Yeah, I want to hear Nigel's thoughts on this, but because it's kind of a question to you guys, which is the 49ers do not blitz a lot. And this has been a tradition for a few years now. We're in a 4-3. We have big, tough guys on the D line, Armstead and Willis, hopefully if he's back, but DJ Jones, these guys can all stunt. They can get in there. They can do a lot of damage on their own without a blitz. And that frees up the guys like Drake Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Alshire. These are guys that can play in the middle of the field and really clog stuff up and stop those short passes. So what you really want to see this week is hopefully not any reliance on a blitz package, because as you know, Aaron Rodgers can get the ball out quickly. He can deliver it faster than probably any other QB. He can scramble. What we need is our front four to get out there and really put the pressure on play after play and win those trench wars throughout the game. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think that's the recipe for success here for Aaron Rodgers? Is that, if he starts moving his feet, is he going to have a chance here in this cold weather game to start opening space, getting his receivers new lanes? I mean, to me, that seems like the recipe for success. They're going to have to move him out of the pocket.
I think that there's some truth to that. I think that moving him out of the pocket is always not the best idea, though. Aaron Rodgers is excellent out of the pocket, on the run, improvising, extending plays. And when you've got receivers like Davante Adams down the field, and they've got some unheralded receivers too, have had some big plays this year, a lot because Aaron Rodgers is who he is, and he's got a great arm, and he reads the field, and he does all the things that he does. But outside the pocket, Aaron's special, and I don't think that's really up for debate. I actually think that I don't know that you can really do the same damage to Aaron Rodgers when he's passing as you do as if you shut down the Packers' run game. Mm-hmm. Because when the Packers run the ball, and it's similar, any football team in cold weather in the playoffs, the run game becomes way more important than in the regular season when it's fairer weather and turnovers aren't as important at that time of year. This is big. So if the 49ers can do a good job of shutting down or at least limiting the Packers' run game, and put them in third and long or medium more than some of those short yardage second downs where Rodgers loves to come up to the line, try and draw you offside. Someone jumps, he snaps the ball. There's a go route on the play, and he just chucks it down the field. And a lot of times how many times have we seen that by Rodgers in his career? It's textbook Rodgers. But so, yeah, I think it's hard to really limit a guy like Rodgers. I think your better chances are to limit the other parts of the game that the Packers is doing well this year, and hope that slows down their play action and things like that, and really makes them just a drop back passer. And I think you got a better shot doing that. But
yep.
What do I know? I'm not a coach in the NFL for a reason.
No, neither am I. And I think, Drew, the point here is that he's such a dynamic player. Like I said, he's got that quick delivery. He can move in and out of situations using his legs. He's almost like eyes at the back of his head. The awareness is unreal. And what you want to prevent are opportunities for him to extend plays with his legs, but also to let players like Davante Adams go deep on our secondary, which no pass interference penalties last week, which either tells me that things are getting better with our secondary. It got healthier as the year went on. We adjusted to some early season injuries that really impacted our secondary. But Davante Adams earlier this season, I don't like to think about it, but he killed us. He absolutely killed us. And we had issues with AJ Brown. But then again, last week, CD Lamb, nowhere to be seen, right? Cooper Kupp neutralized. OBJ, nowhere to be seen 2 weeks ago in that St. Louis game. So maybe things are getting better there on the secondary, especially on that back end with Warden Tart. So I don't know. We just got to keep the ball away from the guy. That's really what it comes down to with him. Keep the ball away from him. That's how you combat an elite QB. That's how you combat a Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. You saw it in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You give the guys the ball, they can score in 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever. It's what you got to do. And it all starts with the front line.
Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So the two running backs for Green Bay, we just talked about this a minute ago. So you got to wonder how much I wonder what Matt LaFleur, like, I wonder how much thinking on the fly these guys really have to do, because game to game things are different. I mean, when you're getting coached against really well from the San Fran side, like you gotta wing it a little bit, right? But how important is it going to be to have AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones be a factor? Because the run game to me has looked pretty good this season from what I've seen. So how important is that to getting past San Fran?
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Nigel. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I think, it's going to be critical. I think it's probably the most important part of the Green Bay game plan is going to be to run the ball and stick with that, even if it's hard up first and you get some opposition. Green Bay's offensive line's been really banged up this year, and some key players. You got an All-Pro like David Bakhtiari coming back at left tackle, which is arguably the most important position on the O-line. At least it's the highest paid typically. So the value, follow the money. I would say that's probably a safe guess. But there's guys that are coming back at this time of year that have been off, and the Green Bay's run the ball really well without them. Coming back now, I think it only helps when you have your top guys coming in. But when you have a two-headed monster in the playoffs, especially, you got a lightning bolt and you got thunder. I think Dillon comes in at like 240 or 250 pounds. His legs are like tree trunks. And then you got, what's the other guy's name again? Aaron Jones. And we've seen what he can do in open space and as a receiver and stuff like that. So if those guys get going, I think it's going to be a long day. But I'll say this, on the other side of the ball, like the 49ers are absolutely no slouch on defense. And on the offensive side of the ball, they can also run the ball. So JB talked about trying to keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. This Debo guy is pretty interesting. I mean, a wide receiver who can play all over the field at running back. He runs like a freight train. There's another guy, another factor. That's a huge X factor in this game. So if the 49ers can do the same back, you got a really good shot.
Yeah, where you guys need to be nervous as a fan base is if Rodgers does the classic screw it, I'm getting, because you guys know he's the coach, right? Like you realize that how he decides the offense goes is how it runs. So if he gets to that point, we've seen Rodgers do this where he says, okay, the run's not working. He gets frustrated and it's just going to be a passing thing. And then he gets 3 and out. And then the Niners come back and put on a 4 or 5 minute drive because they can run and get a few third down conversions. Kittle, Debo, Juwan Jennings the last couple of games, getting critical third down conversions. If that is what you guys start seeing by the second quarter, you should be freaking out, because again, that plays exactly into our game plan, which is slow the game down, run down clock, long drives, even like you saw against the Cowboys. I think at one point there was 4 consecutive field goals. Usually Shanahan's pretty aggressive, especially, in the other team's territory. If it's a 4th and short, he'll go for it. But, putting points on the board over time, it accumulates and it creates situations like we saw at the Cowboys game late in the game where, you have to go for it in awkward ways. Earlier this year, we gave Aaron Rodgers way too much time on that last drive. There's going to be some learning from that as well. And I think it's going to be huge emphasis on just keeping the ball the heck out of his hands, because he will destroy you in short order because of the things that he can do that makes him special. But it all starts with the running game. If you get away from it and you don't stick to it, that tells me that we've psychologically won part of that game.
To me, what I think it sounds like it's going to be such a coaching duel between Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur. Like it just to me seems like coaching is going to be a huge factor here. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, it has to be. It's the playoffs. I mean, if you look at the playoff teams that continue to move on, they often have great coaching. That is, to me, other than quarterbacks, the one thing in NFL football that it defines good teams versus bad teams. I think there's already 8 or 9 coaching vacancies this year in the NFL because people know that if you don't have it, if you don't have the system, you don't have the ability to coach it through an entire roster, and you can't have players all on the same page, after a season or two, forget it. You got to move on. And you saw it with the Dolphins where they moved on from their coach, really promising coach in Flores, but he couldn't get systemic buy-in to what he was doing. He was turning over coordinators all the time. The good coaches see their coordinators leave after a year or two, or they get thrown into the buzz, right? So defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans for the 49ers, he's already being talked about as a head coaching candidate. This is the kind of buzz you get out of these coaching trees from good programs. So all I'm trying to say is that I mentioned Kyle Shanahan's the depth of the playbook, which has taken 2 or 3 years to really ingrain into Jimmy G. He's been hurt on and off. This is why Trey's not playing. Trey Lance is not playing because Jimmy G gives him the best chance, because in these situations in the playoffs, when you have to go deep into your playbook, you have high variability in situations, you need to go with a trusted hand as best as you can. But LaFleur, he's better than Mike McCarthy.
Well, McCarthy has a Super Bowl, so we have to be careful. I'm not sure. That's a deep run for a coach that's not so hot.
No, I know. I'm kind of hard on the guy because he did win a ring.
You're a little salty, James. Admit it. There's a little salt there.
Well, okay. I don't know. I mean, you can lose it too, I guess. I mean, it's a league that is constantly evolving. So if you're not keeping up with the times, or you know what I mean, you can inherit a good roster. That's another one.
It's the same thing that's happening in the NHL. like old school coaching, if you're stubborn and your ways aren't going to change, the game will pass you. If you don't catch up to the game, you're going to be left in the dust, right? So that's what it sounds like to me. But what are your final thoughts here, guys? I'm not necessarily huge on predictions, but any final thoughts in terms of hopefully what kind of game we're going to get, if it's going to be close? What are your initial inklings here? I think it could be a lot closer than fans would like it to be, but this is really it's a hard one to predict for me. I mean, you got a little bit of momentum coming in for San Fran, but you just can't count them out at this point.
I'll go first. Again, we can look at the last few games at Lambeau that we played. I mean, speed kills on that hard field. We saw when Colin Kaepernick, we saw with Raheem Mostert. I think that was in Lambeau. The point being is that, if you can hit the outside edges, if you can run and create space, there's players on both sides that could do a lot of damage. I think this is the right environment for a couple of breakout performances on the ground. The little passes to Debo that turn into long yardage situations. So chunk yardage, big deal in this situation, I think. But, prediction wise, I think it'll be a lot like the game earlier this year. I think it'll be tight. Both teams are relatively healthy. I think there's a bit of a chess match there that's going to play out. As long as the 49ers can play as disciplined as they did the last week, as long as Jimmy G can minimize mistakes, but still, convert those third downs, make those tight passes, that's going to keep us neck and neck with Rodgers. I don't see this being a blowout like the last few. This is going to be a tight one. Last few playoff, I should qualify that. You guys did win the regular season matchup. I don't want to, forget that.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, I can't argue with that in terms of that it's likely to be, I think, a closer game. I don't see a blowout happening. The playoffs are really tough. Although, you see these games recently that a couple of them were big blowouts. I mean, with the Bills, what they did to New England was like, whoa, okay.
But recency, I mean, Drew said it perfectly, which was, momentum, right? So the momentum always plays a role. I feel like, people think it's a sports mythology, not in football. So psychologically, imperative that your team goes out there and is ready to bash heads and you got those war wounds and that pride. You saw what happened to the Cardinals, and they got destroyed as well. They didn't have momentum. Patriots did not have momentum. 49ers have momentum. So they're going to have to counter that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, the thing that, the Packers had a week off, which, can be helpful for healing up, and that's great. You can lose some momentum. We know that when you do have a bye week. But the last game of the regular season was also somewhat of a bye for them in ways, not a bye, but I mean, they didn't play their starters the whole game. It really wasn't a meaningful game from my understanding. I don't recall it having any impact on the standings if they won or lost. So you kind of have 2 weeks in a row now for the Packers where you can fall asleep at the wheel a little bit. You've had a great season. So, and I think it goes either one way or the other. I think they come out and they're either real fresh. They've got some good, some key players back that have been injured. If they can come back and be effective, I think the Packers are going to take it. If they come back and they're asleep at the wheel and they get away from that run game, I think it's going to be a really frustrating day for Drew Deeks and I and the rest of the Packer faithful. But and I don't like predictions. Are yeah. You have the faithful too. I mean,
everyone's faithful to their team. Yeah,
it better be.
Yeah, it's a universal term.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, home field advantage. Packers, if they can do what they do well, I think, and especially with their pass rushes, if they get in Jimmy's face, I think it causes some problems. 49ers, they got a tough pass rush too. They got other things that they can throw at the Packers. So, hey, I'll coin flip this one and we'll see what happens.
By the way, I think Russ is slightly overrated in football. You saw Micah Parsons last week with the Cowboys on oxygen. He missed a week, and that guy could barely breathe. Okay, it's so just that game condition and readiness, that momentum of your body. It'll be a good game.
Everyone's hurt.
Always. The good painkillers come out in the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday stuff starts getting injected.
Al
Pacino reference. All right. I love the shot of Lambeau too. It was beautiful. This is actually the background you're seeing behind us, folks. In case you're wondering, my sister and I were actually going to be going there in 2020, and then something like a world pandemic happened or something. So couldn't do that, but that's why every last minute of Aaron Rodgers that we can get, because we don't really know 100%. I mean, the writing's on the wall for a lot of people. To me, he looks like he's been having the most fun I've seen him have, like, consistently all season in a long time, because he either knows the writing's on the wall and he's out the door after these playoffs, or by some miracle they convince him to stay. But that's actually a question I have for you, Nige, just as a Packers fan. Do you have a gut feel on what you think he should do and what he wants to do? I mean, like, legacy-wise, and just what do you feel like he wants to do?
Aaron Rodgers is weird. He's a weird guy to me. I don't know. Like, I could never really. He comes across to me as like a pretty arrogant guy. He's hard to like at face value, because obviously I don't know the guy. But like, just some of the stuff that he does is sometimes rubs me the wrong way. I think what the management did this offseason, how they recovered the relationship with Aaron Rodgers is huge. It seems like, from what I've been reading and what I've heard from Aaron Rodgers in some interviews, he seems to be on a good page with them. You never really know. Obviously, it could just be, they've got a good playoff run going. Who knows? But I think ultimately it comes down to Aaron Rodgers wanted to be heard and wanted some control around player personnel and who was coming in and that type of thing. JB, you mentioned earlier that we all know who the coach is on the Packers, and you're right. I think Aaron Rodgers has a lot of influence on that, and as long as I think that keeps going in the same direction, and he's given a voice at the management table when it comes to drafting, when it comes to retaining players, free agency, all the rest of it, I think Aaron Rodgers is not going anywhere. I think that his legacy, and I just don't see him moving off this spot. If Devontae Adams leaves and some other guys go because of salaries and they don't want to, I could see him moving on. But that's where him having some influence in that, I think, is super important to him as he fades, as he winds it down in his career the next how many ever years. So I would say he's probably staying. I think Green Bay would be crazy at this point because he's playing at such a high level still. I don't know what his contract looks like either, if he wants long-term versus short. Lots of factors there too. So we'll see. He's just a funny guy, and he needs some attention and some love, I think, sometimes from the team and management. And then, if they give it to him, he'll stick around, I think.
There's just no rush, to bring Jordan Love on board to me. Based on what we've seen, and it was kind of the same way with when Favre was still here, right? It's almost funny how it's almost a similar situation where, Favre was unsure of what he wanted to do. Rodgers was sitting waiting in the wings, but Jordan Love hasn't been waiting that long. So I think he can wait a little bit longer, in my personal opinion. I've just enjoyed, watching him for so long. And that's why I'm trying to soak up every last minute, because you never know, the Saturday could be it. I hope it's not, but you just never know. So any final thoughts?
Neither could be, final thought would be neither QB could be on these teams next year. So Rodgers could be, he could be wearing, red and gold next year for all I know. But this is it. Like if Jimmy G if they don't win this game, it's Trey Lance next year, but he needs to have a good showing because they want to flip him into a decent draft pick, maybe get their second rounder back, and then, free up some salary because they have guys they need to sign like Debo. So that's going to be what's in play at this game for the legacy of the 49ers, maybe changing in the guard. Otherwise they move on and they either play, Tampa Bay or the Rams. And that's got implications either way as well. So, you know what? That's my final thought, is that I'm going to enjoy my Jimmy G fix here and the highs and the lows of it. And hopefully, we win, but I will understand if we lose, because it'll solely almost be because Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And he did his thing. We should not have passed up on him, many years ago. We should not have taken Alex Smith. We should have taken Aaron Rodgers, and that will forever haunt us. But
thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
We are forever eternally grateful for you.
So you got to think like the personality thing, the way you see it today. I wonder how much of that was in play back then, but that's a show for another time.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you both for jumping on, guys. Great to get Nigel on here too. You and I have been talking about this forever, Nigel, just chatting about anything to do with sports, and football is your game, man. Can't wait to talk to you more about your playing days. You're a champion and at the high school level, and you also played some university football. Can't wait to break that down with you too, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Nice to meet you guys. Nice to meet you, Nigel, and thanks again, Drew, for doing this.
Look at us. We're not just hockey fans. Like, we can do this, right? we can try anyway. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, folks. Thanks for jumping on both of you again to the Drew Deeks channel, changing it up here a little bit. Go Pack, go 49ers. I will respect the opponent, and we'll see you guys again soon. Cheers.